Saints, just wanted to say for those of you who can make it, that this upcoming Sunday will be the last Sunday in the Bethany Center. And then after that, we will be in our new sanctuary. So if you want to be a part of history, join us this Sunday as we spend our last worship service, Lord willing, in the Bethany Center. Amen. And then tomorrow night, we are having an information meeting. It's not a business meeting, but an information meeting. So, we invite you to join us tomorrow evening. So we are going to conclude today the series. Well, I guess it's not a series, a two-part lesson that we began last week on artificial intelligence. So hopefully those of you who are able, that you received the notes and some of the stuff that was in there last week. I didn't have notes last week, but some of the stuff that was in there last week, is in the notes. So you can have those notes from last week. But we've been talking about artificial intelligence, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so this week, we're going to look at some of the specifics of the bad and the ugly. We said artificial intelligence, we gave a definition, and that is computers being programmed to mimic human intelligence. And so programs can simulate the human mind. And so that's artificial intelligence, that intelligence that has taken the place of human intelligence. So it's good to understand that working definition. Now, what is the power of artificial technology or artificial intelligence? Look at this. Robots are faster and stronger than human beings. Just think about that. They can move faster and they're stronger than human beings. Think of something that we had for years and we never thought of it as artificial intelligence, and that is the simple calculator, right? You can put numbers in a calculator and you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and it can do it a lot faster than we can with the human mind. Now, we can say 2 times 2 is 4, so that's pretty fast, right? And we can say 4 times 4 is 16, and we can say 16 plus 16 is 32. So we're pretty quick on that, but just think when you get up into the 6 figures and you start multiplying and subtracting and dividing, you can't handle a calculator, or in the words of MC Hammer, you can't touch this, right? We can't come anywhere near fast as a calculator. And then when you think of computers and how that computers can store, recall, and manipulate data faster than humans. So technology is powerful. Artificial intelligence that takes the place of humans, is faster, stronger. It can recall, it can store, it can manipulate data. So it's a powerful tool that we have in our society today. We talked about 3 stages of artificial intelligence. And, the first stage is, just very simple things like your doorbell, your microwave, adjusting the temperature in your house. That's one stage. And then the next stage is what we would call stronger intelligence. And this is where machines are able to think and make decisions based on the information that it receives. That's the second stage. And then the third stage is when it actually begins to think for itself, right? So we haven't necessarily, even though there's a lot of things that's headed in that direction, we haven't fully arrived to that third stage yet. Remember in the book of Daniel, Daniel was told, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. So he's talking about the end times. You know, I believe we are in the end times right now, where he says, many shall run to and fro. That means that speed shall increase, and then knowledge shall be increased in these last days. So, you know, we understand that Daniel was prophesying about the last days when speed and knowledge would increase. We talked about this last week, that up until 1900, knowledge doubled every 100 years. By 1945, it doubled every 25 years. Today, it doubles every 13 months. And pretty soon, and some people will tell us that it's already on us right now, is that knowledge doubles every 12 hours. So we see knowledge just growing out of control. So when we think about artificial intelligence, you know, it's tied into this whole idea of knowledge growing. You know, I said last week, 80% of the scientists that have ever lived are alive today. 80% of all scientists that have ever lived are alive today. So we talked about this last week, Chat GPT, and well, one of you sent me a link to Good Morning America, where they did a segment on this right here. So, you know, I went back and watched it. It was very interesting. And, you know, this Chat GPT is what they call a chat bot, right? And it's able to do almost anything you can imagine. It provides human responses to questions. If you ask it a question, it will respond. You know, I was listening to, in preparation for the lesson today, I was listening to this one guy who was teaching on artificial intelligence. And I didn't try it. So maybe some of you might want to try it after Bible study. But he said, like, when, you know, these Siri and all this other stuff first came out, he said that, you know, if you asked it a knock knock joke, you know, it wouldn't understand what you were saying. But it says now, if you ask it, you know, if you say knock knock, that it's actually programmed to say who's there. So you know, again, that shows you the advance in the technology, that, you know, it can respond to questions, it can engage in conversation. You know, I don't know about you. Have you ever got frustrated talking to, like, if you're calling somewhere and it says you know, put in your number, and you put in your number and it says, I didn't understand that. And I'm almost like, I told you what it was, right? Here you are, you know, engaging in this conversation, getting upset, you know, hollering at the voice, hollering at the artificial intelligence, right? Or, you know, if it says you know, say yes or say no, and you say yes, and it says, I didn't understand. I said yes. Didn't you hear me? So uh so even beyond the conversation that is supposed to bring forth, you know, sometimes we get a little bit in the flesh, right? And we engage in some extracurricular conversation. This Chat GPT also offers advice, gives you recommendations. It provides it provides insight and perspective on various issues. Now look at this, and I didn't have this here last week, but it's able to write essays and speeches, and not only that, but it's able to take tests. That it's able to take tests and outperform any human being on the tests that it takes. And then if you watch that piece on Good Morning America, it says that this is even able to fill out your tax returns. Wow, even able to fill out your tax returns. So this chatbot, it's a bad boy, right? It's a thing of the future. All right. Now we talked about last week, and this is in your notes too, that God is the author of every good gift, right? Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights. So this is the good in technology. God has placed technology within the capabilities of mankind. It is his good gift to enhance human wisdom and allow man to flourish for the common good. All right. So technology, artificial intelligence is a good thing, so we see the good part of it. Uh, and then, this is something, and I didn't talk about this last week, but let me just mention this, that there's a phrase that's called technology singularity. And this actually, and it pretty much falls into that third stage of those stages of artificial intelligence. And this refers to the time when artificial intelligence improves itself without input, without human input, and beyond human abilities. So what they're working on is technology. Like right now, all the technology is dependent on what human beings put in it, right? But they're working on the technology where, and probably close to getting here if it's not already here, where these robots and where this intelligence can actually begin to put input in on its own and then go above and beyond human abilities. Now, we've seen, and I'm not a big movie watcher, but again, in doing my research, they talked about a lot of movies where computers and robots actually began to outthink humans, right? Their intellectual ability, their intelligence went far beyond human beings, and then that's when they turned on the human beings. So, we're not at that point, right now. So, I'm praying that, before, if things get to that point, that, God will take us out by then, that he's going to call us on home in the rapture. So, but I just wanted to bring that out. Technology singularity, where the computers and robots begin to improve themselves. See, like I said, right now, it's dependent on input from man, but at some point, it'll be able to improve itself beyond human abilities. All right. So let's look at the bad and the ugly, right? We've looked at the good, right? God has given us technology for good, right? He has put it within our capabilities to be able to do these things. If God didn't want us to do it, then we wouldn't do it. It wouldn't, the technology wouldn't be here, but God has placed it here. So it's here, and we can use it for good. And if I ask all of you to think about technology that you're using for good, one of the things that, the fact that you're on this Zoom meeting, as Naomi mentioned earlier, the fact that you're on this Zoom meeting means that you are using technology for good. The fact that, we have a radio program that 7 o'clock on every evening that goes around the world, that's technology being used for good. The fact that we can post these Bible teachings on YouTube and other media sources, that's technology being used for good. So there's a whole lot of technology that's being used for good. But now let's look at the bad and let's look at the ugly. All right, let's look at the bad and the ugly of technology. And we want to look at it from a biblical perspective. First of all, we need to understand that artificial intelligence is designed by man. All right. If we was together, I might say, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, artificial intelligence is designed by man. Keep that in mind. No matter what you see, whether it's a self-driving car, whether it's a robot, a chat bot, whatever the case, whatever it is, it's designed by man. And so the fact that it's designed by man, there's a couple things that we want to keep in mind. Romans 3, verses 10 through 18. Man is a sinner. Now, what did Pastor Glaze say? Artificial intelligence is designed by man. Man is a sinner and can design artificial intelligence for selfish and sinful reasons. And you know what? We see it. I was and I think I shared this last week. I was watching Good Morning America. Again, they had another piece about this, and we're going to talk about this in a second, this voice imaging, and how that this one girl got a call from her sister, and her sister said that she was in trouble, and that she needed to wire, her sister needed to wire her some money. And I think, I forget what it was. I think it's about $10,000, something like that, that she wired, because she talked to her sister on the phone. Well, come to find out, it was a scam. And somebody else had actually cloned her sister's voice and was able to have a conversation with the other sister. And so the sister sent the money, and then eventually later on she talked to the sister and said, "I hope you're all right." And the sister said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, I got the call." And she said, "That wasn't me." So here they had cloned her voice and made uh, her sister think that it was her calling because she was in need. Look at man. Look what the Bible says in Romans 3:10-18. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understands. There is none that seeks after God. That unless God sought us, we would not seek after him. God sought us first. What's the song say? We love him because he first loved us. The scripture says that. There's a song that says it, but the scripture says it too. So unless, and see, that's why, saints, let me tell you something. That's why we need to pray for godly scientists. That's why we need to pray for righteous scientists. You remember what I told you? 80% of the scientists that have ever lived are in the world right now. And we need to pray that they know the Lord, because if they don't, they begin to develop this technology with from a heart that's not seeking after God. And we know when you don't seek after God, what can happen. You begin to develop things for your own purpose. Notice what the next verse says. They are all gone out of the way. They are all together become unprofitable. There is none that does good, no, not one. When you think about, the human nature, when you think about the fact that man is a sinner, that there's nobody that does good. And then he goes on to say that their throat is an open sepulcher, where their tongues, they have used, with their tongues, they have used, look at this, deceit, right? Deceit. So if man at his essence is at the heart of artificial technology, we see it's going to be deceitful. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a second. The poison of asp is in their tongue. Look at their mouth, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and, look at this, destruction and misery are in their way, right? They are all about how can they destroy lives? How can they make lives miserable? It's not about improving life, which artificial technology, that's what it should do. That's what God would have it to do. God would have it to improve life. But we see here that man at his essence is about destroying life. They have not known the way of peace. They have not known. Look at this. There's no fear of God before their eyes. And if these are the people that are developing the technology, man, we're in trouble. That's why I say, what's the takeaway from this is that we need to pray for Christian scientists. I'm not saying a religion. There's a religion called Christian Science. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about scientists who are Christians, scientists who are righteous, scientists who know God. So as they develop this artificial intelligence, that it wouldn't come from a sinful heart. The next thing, we see that man's imaginations go against the purposes of God. Look at Genesis chapter 11 and verse 6. Remember, we talked about this last week when they built the Tower of Babel, and they wanted to build a structure that reached up to the sky, up to the heavens. They wanted to be up there where God was at. And look what the Lord said. Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Right? So what is God saying? That the imaginations of human beings can run contrary to the purposes of God. Man, that's why, again, we need to be praying, for, and well, let me go on, because I'm getting ready to get on my saddle here, on my soapbox. But the point here is that man's imaginations go against the purposes of God. And God said, let us go down, let us confound their language. Why? Because anything they imagine, that they'll try to do it. And, just think about artificial intelligence. Who would have thought about this chatbot, right? That can do just about anything that you want it to do. Well, how did we get the chatbot? Because of some man's or some men's or women's imagination. Somebody sat down and thought about it. And so when we look at the imaginations of human beings in their essence, they go against God. They go against God. And so God said, now nothing will be restrained from them. Whatever they want, whatever they think, whatever, and somebody said this: if the mind can conceive it, then man can achieve it. Now, we know that that's a good statement, but there's some limitations to that statement. But there's some truth behind that statement too, that if human beings can conceive something, then they can actually work to try to make it happen. And that's what happened at the Tower of Babel. They conceived in their mind that they wanted to build this tower that reached up into heaven. Where did it start? They conceived it, and then they tried to achieve it. So with artificial intelligence, if people can conceive it, then they can try to achieve it. Man can be influenced by Satan. And notice 2 Corinthians 4:4, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Now, I know this is specifically talking about Christ and salvation. So let me say that. I understand that up front, that this is talking about Christ and salvation. But let me draw a secondary application. And the secondary application is that the devil is able to blind the minds of unbelievers, that he's able to get them to not see the light and not see the truth. And then they begin to work in areas of dark. Wow. They begin to work in areas of darkness, right? Because why? That their minds are blinded to the light of God. And so, saints, that's why I'm saying, man, we need to pray for scientists who are Christians. We need to pray for people who are developing this technology to be right with God. Even though I know, see, like here I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me move on, because I'm getting ready to hit that here in a second. So man can design artificial intelligence to replace God. And that's the objective. Look at this next slide. And I showed you this before. What technology has become the end time digital God, right? Technology is omniscient. It knows everything, right? Everything that man can know and beyond. It's not infinite. It's not omniscient in the same way that God is. But as far as this earth and as far as mankind is concerned, that end time technology is omniscient, right? It's omnipresent. They got, and I think I said last year, they got 30 some thousand, if maybe more, satellites up in the sky, right? And I heard about there was competition for satellite space up there, up in the air, right? And so one country was taking another country, trying to get them to take their satellites out of their space. And I think they kind of took it to court, and they came to the conclusion that, unlike here on Earth, where people own land, and they can purchase and sell it, that nobody owns space. So, nobody can tell you what to do up there in space. So there's all these satellites that are up there. Your satellites, if you have XM radio, yeah, right? How are you getting that? It's a satellite. If you have a GPS system, that's satellite. All these things, all these satellites. So, technology is everywhere, right? And it's omnipotent. It controls much of our human life. Now, let me go back. So, again, there are some leaders in the field of artificial intelligence that they make no bones about it, that they want the artificial intelligence to replace God. They wanted to operate in the place of God. And so we know where that comes from, right? Remember in Genesis chapter 3, when the serpent was trying to tempt Eve to eat the fruit, and he said, "For God doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil." So what does Satan tell them? That, you can be like God, right? You can be like God. And we have to be careful. Now, see, I already talked about the good of artificial intelligence. Now I'm talking about the bad and the ugly. And the bad and the ugly is that some people that are in the field of artificial intelligence, their objective is for this AI, artificial intelligence, to be like God. And even in some places, to take the place of God. That's the objective. In the last days, so here again, and this is where I've been driving to. Here's the point I've been trying to get to. In the last days, which we are in right now, so I'm saying that we need to pray that God raise up godly people in this field, and they would take the leadership. But the fact of the matter is that the Bible seems to be clear that there will be wicked individuals that will have access and control of artificial intelligence. And we see in the last days, artificial intelligence will be used as a means of control. It will be used as a means of control. Revelation 13, 16, and 17, says that, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So what's that all about? It's all about control. How's he going to control it? He's going to control it because again, we're working towards a one world government. We're working towards a one world currency. We have the World Health Organization. We have all these worldwide religious organizations. All that, is becoming worldwide, and it will be controlled. And I mean, right now it's controlled through technology. As far as the finances, as far as the economy, all that is connected. And if you think that it's not, saints, let me open your eyes and school you today that all this stuff is connected to artificial intelligence. And so there's coming a day when the wrong person will get control of it. And when the wrong person gets control of it, then he will control this world in an evil way. And, if you look at, I did a teaching last year on the Great Reset, and how that, there's leaders of the world that are coming together, the leaders of America included, United States, are coming together to see how they can reset everything, how that we can, reset economies, how we can reset health, You know, and when you look at the pandemic that we went through, you know, it was devastating. You know, yeah, it put us, you know, in our homes. We, you know, we weren't able to come out. You know, and you know, there were certain places that you couldn't go, right? But if you look at that, and I think that, you know, a lot of it was for our health. So I'm saying that a lot of it was for our health. But I think that there was a fine line, saints, that moved. Oh, somebody hear me now. That moved over the line. It crossed the line between health and control. It crossed the line between health and control, right? So I'm saying that, you know, I think that a lot of things that we did were for our health. And I thank God that we were able to do those things and get this virus under control. No question about that. And I'm totally in agreement, you know, with the health aspect. But I think there was a part where, if you look, I think we crossed over that line of being concerned about people's health, and now it was about control, right? And so, you know, how do you use artificial intelligence as a mean of control? You know, we looked at the video last week of the technology is already being used to put the chip in people's underneath their skin. And, you know, if you think about it, if you got this chip, right, and you're not complying with what the government is telling you to do, guess what they're going to do? They're going to shut down your chip. They're going to turn your chip off, and now you can't what? You can't do anything, right? Because everything, you know, your credit card numbers on, your medical records are on there, your bank account is on there. You know, to start your car, right, is on there. You know, I have one of those starters where, you know, you don't have to put the key in, right? You just get in your car and push a button. Now, if your key is not in there, right, if you leave your key somewhere else, then you can't start your car. But as long as you got your little fob, you know, in your pocket or in your purse, you know, and it's in your vehicle, then you can start it up. So just think of how uh, uh, that people will, leaders will be able to control us through technology. Okay, so in the last days, man will use artificial intelligence as a means of control. And then in the last days, man will use artificial intelligence for deceptive purposes. Notice 2 Timothy 3:13 talking about the last days. Look what it says here. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. So there will be a lot of the, yeah, and so, you know, Paul's saying that this is going to be the spirit of the day, deception. Now, can you imagine if people can get a hold of this technology, how deceptive it will be, how much they will use that technology to deceive other people. So deception will be the order of the day in the last days, as far as this artificial intelligence is concerned. Now, let's look at a couple things here. Let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, so, you know, I went through, let me go back, saints, and say this, all right, that I went through all this to show from a biblical perspective how this shit can turn bad real quick, how that artificial intelligence can go south real quick, right? That, you know, man is a sinner and can use artificial intelligence for selfish reasons. Man's imagination goes against the purposes of God. Man can be influenced by Satan. Man can design artificial intelligence to replace God. In the last days, artificial intelligence will be used as a means of control. And in the last days, man will use artificial intelligence for deceptive purposes. So let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The voice cloning, right? That, you know, they're able to clone people's voices now. Now, I went and I said, the good is that a person who wrote a book, that they could take some of his, just a couple sentences that he says, And then they can translate that book into another language, and they can use this guy's voice, whoever wrote the book, to read the book in another language. Wow. I mean, that's powerful that's powerful technology, right? That's some powerful technology that they can use that, to read books in other languages. I think I told you about they can take a grandma's voice, just a couple sentences from grandma's voice, and when grandma dies and goes to be with the Lord, that she can actually read a book to her grandchildren, right? In her voice, they can read the book. I mean, that's how technology. Now, that somebody might say, well, I don't know if that's good or bad right there, but voice cloning, it can be used for some good purposes. What is the bad and the ugly is when hackers take people's voices and use them for nefarious purposes. As I shared with you about the sister who was tricked into sending money because she thought she heard her sister's voice, and she had talked to her sister, and her sister told her she was in trouble. So voice cloning. Here goes one right here, facial recognition. Now this is powerful. I just got a computer, and so y'all pray for me, right? Because one of the questions that it asked me was, did you know how when you first go into your computer and you have to put in a password? Well, it asked me, did I want to use facial recognition to get into my computer? And I tell you what, Saints, I'm just not there right now. I'm just not there, right? So I just said, no, I'd rather put in a password. But this facial recognition, I mean, it's supposed to be real easy, right? You don't even have to put in a password. All you got to do is sit in front of your computer, and it recognizes your face, and it starts up your computer for you, opens your computer. Facial recognition. They actually track criminals. They've made arrests based on facial recognition. So that's the good. Now, what's the bad and the ugly? The bad and the ugly is that you can track anyone at anywhere at any time. So as as the old saying goes, Big Brother is always watching you. Big Brother always knows where you're at, and so that's why, you got to tell yourself, that song, right? Be careful, little hands, what you do. Be careful, little feet, where you go. Be careful, little mouth, what you say. And what's the song that we used to teach the kids? For the Father up above is looking down in love. So be careful, little eyes, what you see, little feet, where you go, little mouth, what you say. Be careful. Why? Because the Father up above is looking down in love. I'm gonna write another part to that song. I don't, I got to make it rhyme, but you can say, Big Brother up above is not looking down in love. Right? He's not looking. Big Brother is not looking down in love. Big Brother is looking to know what you're doing. Big Brother is looking to track you down. Big Brother is looking to control you. So that's the bad and the ugly, right? So there's some good with facial recognition. So again, if you notice here, Saints, I'm not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I'm saying that there's good, but there's also the bad, and there's also the ugly. What about data storage? They can, again, if you get one of them chips under your skin, you can have all your medical records on there. So just think, if in an emergency something happened to you, and they were coming in, and they tried to give you a certain treatment, but they scan that chip that's under your skin, and it says that, no, you can't do this to this person because they have this medical condition. If you do this, it's going to kill them. So I mean, from that standpoint, That data storage has saved your life. Having that chip implanted has saved your life, right? Man, praise God for that. Praise God that we can have these records, like that. But what about the negative side, the bad and the ugly, is that this information can be hacked. Your data can be hacked and it can be sold. Just think if the wrong person gets access to your information, what they can do with it, right? All your information, bank accounts, health, everything about you is in one place. And if somebody can hack into that, then that's the bad and the ugly. And then even the chip implants. Just think, what's something good? If a child has been abducted, right? And if a child has a chip, you can know where that child is at. Like you can track that child down. What a blessing that is. What a blessing it is to be able to have, for a child to have that chip, and you be able to find that child if they've been abducted, or even if they got lost, that you can find them. But what is the bad and the ugly? Well, again, somebody asked, is the Antichrist here? I don't know if the Antichrist is here or not, right? But let me say this. Everything that needs to be in place for the Antichrist to come is already here. So that's my answer to that question. I don't know if the Antichrist is here, but everything that the Antichrist needs is already here. The preparation for the mark of the beast, is already here. And the Bible talked about this thousands of years ago, right? That, a mark in the hand or the forehead. Who would have thought? I mean, back then, John, what are you talking about when you wrote Revelation? What are you talking about, John? A mark in their hand or forehead, right? That was far-fetched. But look now, everything that's needed is already here. All those things that John, and the fact is 100 years ago, you couldn't have said this, right? But today, again, as this technology doubles, and as some people will tell us, is already doubling every 12, 13 hours. So, when you look at that, it's the stuff is here. It's here, saints. We don't need to guess or be worried about whether it's here yet or not, because it's here. It's already here. Now let's look at the bad and the ugly. What are some concerns? So these are concerns that we should have when we think about technology. The first concern is employment. Because robots and computers can do the job more faster, what are they doing? They're taking jobs from human beings, right? I mean, there's, as time goes on, there's going to be less and less jobs. You used to go to Giant Eagle, right? And there was a cashier that checked you out. Now, they still have cashiers checking you out. I think that's probably always going to be a part of it because of the human element. However, I see a whole lot of people going through, and me included, going through the self-checkout line, right? So when you think about going through the self-checkout, uh, years ago, who checked you out? You didn't have that option, right? There was a person that was checking you out. So we see that through this artificial intelligence. I mean, just think, it can scan your groceries. I mean, you don't have to have anybody standing there punching in, keys or punching in a price. It just scans, whatever it is. And somebody told me, well, not somebody told me, but as I was studying, they said that the technology is already here, where you can walk into the store. Watch this now, saints. You can walk into the store. You can do your shopping. You can walk out of the store without stopping at a register or anything else, and go home. That, it already has rung up your groceries, already charged your account, your bank account, your credit card, whatever the case might be, that you can actually walk in a store. The technology is here where you can walk in a store and shop and just leave. Now, they even have, now just just think of this. They even have people that will come to your house and put your groceries away. Right? Now, just think, one day there's probably going to be a robot that's able to do that. Robot is going to do all your shopping for you, and then it's going to come to your house, and it's going to, I guess you program it. It's going to know exactly where to put all your groceries, just where you want them, right? So, we see that a concern is that, technology is taking jobs. Discrimination, that you can encrypt in when for job, not pretty much. And I haven't had to look for a job lately, so hopefully I won't have to look for a job. But that, the next thing I'm going to be doing is at some point is retiring, so I'm not going to be looking for a job, Lord willing. But if you look for a job, somebody said you can't even go to the place anymore and talk to somebody. You got to fill the thing out online, right? You got to fill the application out online. And so the concern is that they can encrypt information to find out, like if you're African American that lives in Homewood, right? They can encrypt that in there, and they can say, well, you know what, Homewood, man, there's somebody getting shot there every day. That's kind of a dangerous neighborhood. This person might be one of these individuals that's shooting folks up. And so we're going to encrypt in here, if you from Homewood and you're African American, that they can actually discriminate, by what they input into the application. Or if you want to weed out a certain group of people, or if you want to include a certain group of people, that actually, they can encode that in the information, so that you never get a shot at the job, because you've been eliminated based on the encrypted information that they have put in the application process. What about ethical decisions? When you think about artificial intelligence, ethical decisions based on data input, not on human reasoning. And so, I shared this a couple of weeks ago, but let me share it again. So, ethical decisions, these self-driving cars, right? So just imagine that everybody has a self-driving car, and there's two cars getting ready to get into an accident, and both of these cars have been programmed. Well, it can actually cause, and it can say, well, there's three people in one car and there's one person in the other car. So we're going to let the one person in the other car be the one that get killed. And we're going to say, we're going to design the technology, or design the impact, so that the three people in the one car, that their lives are spared. So again, you might say, well, that's kind of a good thing. You save 3 lives instead of 1. But just think, that's just one where the computers are making these ethical decisions, right? Do we save the 3 people in one car, or do we save the one person in one car? And so what other ethical decisions that will these computers be able to make? Again, well, let me do this, because it's being based on how it's being programmed. So it's not, as we're going to see here, right? It's void of human conscience, right? It doesn't take into account the soul and spirit. They don't have moral reasonings, but they call them algorithms, the trends and what they see happening. That's what programs these computers, that they don't have a human conscience, right? So instead of it being reasoned, you know, through a voice of conscience, it's going to do what it's been programmed to do. And so if you program the accident to save 3 lives instead of 1 life, then that's exactly what's going to happen. So, you know, again, you know, the scary thing is that you can translate that into other areas as you program things. Okay. So this doesn't take into account, you know, the soul and spirit, the fact that we've all been created in the image of God. It don't take into consideration the image of God on our lives. And so this is the bad and the ugly. And then, you know, what about friends? You know, it's being touted that we can be friends with robots, right? And that, you know, the problem is that when you look at human relationships, they are reciprocal, they are spontaneous, they are intuitive. You know, you can't, you know how you say to somebody, man, you're feeling me, you know, you're feeling where I'm at. Well, you know, if you got a robot friend, the robot friend, it might tell you that they're feeling, if they've been programmed to tell you that they're feeling you, right? They can say that, or they might be able to, whatever they've been programmed to do, but they're not feeling you from a soul and a spirit standpoint. You know, they're feeling you from the fact that that's what they've been programmed to do, right? And if you look at real friendships, they are organic and not programmed. So, you know, and if you're friends with a robot, you know, then there's the loss of human to human contact. So, you know, you know, these are the bad and the ugly things that can result as from artificial intelligence. So again, I want to make it clear that I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I told you guys that there's a lot of good in artificial intelligence, a lot of good, you know, and God, according to James, every good and perfect gift is from a God, from above. So there's a lot of good, but there's also, you know, when it gets into the hands, which we live, all you got to do is turn on your news and you see there's a lot of wicked people in the world. There's a whole lot of wicked people in the world. And so when wicked people get a hold of technology, then it becomes bad and it becomes ugly. All right, let me stop sharing and